We'll go on to, actually, Martin, keeping the order open, we'll begin with you with the first question. We do have a question from the audience. What would you do different than your opponent? Perhaps you could take perhaps an example that you would have done differently, or perhaps an example, a difficult decision you made that you'd like to explain why.
Well, what I've done, and I don't think any other candidate that I know of in the history of California would do what I did. I was threatened to be fired from my chief of police position because I did the job with ethics and morals. I was told that a police sergeant was molesting children. Okay, here we go again, protecting our children. I was told by a city councilwoman that was married to that police sergeant that if you keep going with this investigation, we're going to fire you. So I said to myself, wait a second. I have to take care of the children, the community, even in the face of being fired, which I was finally released from the contract. I was an at-will employee. I don't know any other law enforcement person that would actually stand up, be counted, and support the children in that case in the face of being fired. I mean, there's other areas I can bring up, but that was one thing that I can bring to you that shows credibility and even leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. The question for you would be perhaps a difficult decision you made in your tenure, and you'd like to explain why. Why you came to the decision you did.
A difficult decision in my tenure. One of the things that we're looking at within the Sheriff's Office is there a better way, and this is something that is a decision that we're going to be working with County Board of Supervisors, is looking at, we know that there's big cuts in public funding. We've gone after grants, but that still is taxpayers' money. What we're going to be looking at internally is, are there frauds within the benefit systems of Santa Clara County? And I think that'll be a difficult decision. We're doing the research on that right now, but I think that if there are abuses of sick leave, if there's abuses of workers' comp countywide, that's something that we really should look at and can look at, and that will be actual money saved, not just money from another source. So it's going to be difficult. It will be difficult for the employees, but I think it's something that needs to be done in the interest of good government.
Richard Calderon.
Yes. I'll have to say that when I was in Gustine, I had 90-95% approval rating during a evaluation sent out to the public. With this, the city manager and the mayor were asking me to do things that were improper. I reported the city manager actions in regards to failing to properly report grant funds to the city council, the city attorney, and the mayor. And I was then paid my contract off, and I was asked to sign a waiver of liability and also confidentiality. I told them, no, that's not going to happen. With this, also during endorsement presentations, as with the other candidates, there's been some promises made by the incumbent that are definitely improper. Some have been disclosed in the Gilroy Dispatch. But I'm not going to be a person who will basically be paid off for my office. I'm going to be ethical. I've always been. I'm going to continue to be that way. Honest, ethical, fiscally responsible.
The next question. How does a retired officer feel about double dipping by running for another job? Would you set aside retirement to do so?
I'll tell you this, I will take whatever pay cuts my staff will take, unlike the incumbent who's actually taken salary increases. Now with this, I will also say that I have paid 11% of my salary for the 30 years that I worked with the San Jose Police Department, and the way that the money is being paid to me in my retirement now is by my investments that I paid, equivalent amount of investment made by the city, and then also interest and earnings on the investments. People believe that the retirements are being paid to the previous workers who worked for like 30 years out of your tax dollars, and that's not so. There's been some mismanagement by people who've actually handled the retirement funds. I'll say that the San Jose Police Fire's retirement pension plan is actually very solvent right now. It's because it was managed by other officers and people who actually knew how to manage it. So I will take the cuts that my staff take.
Thank you very much. And the same question, please.
I'll go along with Rich with the San Jose PD retirement. I think what we need to look at is not so much double dipping and so forth. I think you're going to want somebody that comes in and actually, when they do manage. For example, currently the sheriff gets about $7,500 a year. You can look at the budget on that for car allowance, but that's not for the car. She gets a car and the gas at the department. So you have to start looking at the different items that the sheriff actually gets, and she's getting extra on top of the 200 and something thousand a year she makes. The question would be is how are we going to lower those different type of budget issues? And I would definitely be in favor, just like Rich, if the deputies have to have a cut, I will take a cut. We have to work as a team. That's for the community. I think the other key thing is in this position, we have an opportunity to take our salary, our money, and even support, for example, the schools where I think we need to help out. And maybe,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unlike my opponents, who both worked for San Jose Police Department and are retired, I've worked for the Sheriff's Office for almost 37 years and into one, so I'm not double dipping. And my pay raises I've had pay raises throughout the years. They've been actually less than have been received by the rank and file within the organization. And just as a point of clarification, I do not get a car allowance. That's not correct, as are a lot of other things that have been said today. So that's false.
Sheriff Smith, budget concerns for any department, any jurisdiction right now. How do you cut costs, preserve public safety?
That's what we're doing now, and that's why I think it takes someone with a tremendous amount of experience to be able to make those cuts. It's a difficult time. The county has, I've been talking with the county leaders to look at, are there functions that can be combined within the county? Are there better services? Are there better services that can also be combined and for a net savings within the county? And I think we have a lot of initiatives going. We're also looking at things like mental health and how, if we had a crisis response team, how that would actually save money to the county. So we're looking at doing business a different way that will be a better way of doing business and also be less costly.
Richard Calderon?
What I would look at is best practices. I will also make contact with my staff to consider ideas that they have. Who best knows how and where budget can be cut than the staff that are working? I've already talked to several, and they've given me many ideas about where there is waste in the Sheriff's Department. With this, best practices, what I've already researched, in Boston, they have a program where the inmates are paying to stay, where they're actually being held responsible for their stay. With this, if they remain crime-free for 2 years, they will actually not have to pay for some of the money that they actually incurred in cost for staying in jail. With this, Texas also has another program on medical costs. They've cut down the medical costs tremendously. If there had been an intent on saving money, why is it only being done now during election season, or considered? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to evaluate the entire department, look at the various wastes, and change that.